Now, when you think of the word chipper, when I think of the word chipper, instantly the first thing that comes to my mind is this is designed for people that struggle with their short game. Ping have just released a new chipper. Amazing. Never thought I'd ever see it, but they have actually released this club and we're going to be putting it to the test today. Down in the comments, I'd like to hear what you think when you hear the word chipper. So whenever I'm doing a short game lesson, one of the first questions I ask anybody is, give me your thoughts on what actually a chip is. And what I'm kind of looking for from them is for them to respond by saying something along the lines, well, chip is kind of like a lofted putt, and that's what I believe a chip is. Something that's inside maybe 40 yards to the green. I'm trying to think of it as a putting technique, but using the loft of the club to get the ball in the air, get it over the trouble that you're trying to get over, and then land it on the nice stuff on the green, which is what this kind of chipper has been designed for. And that's what Ping are going to tell you about this chipper. It's been designed to give those people that are struggling with confidence the opportunity to get up and down a little bit more consistently.
Oh, just chipped in.
The last time you had a chip in was when you had a lesson with Paul. Now, Bernie, tell me, because you're somebody who has, over the years, certainly more recently, you were always a very good chipper when you were younger, because I remember going up against you many times, but historically, over the last sort of few years, you have struggled with your short game. You've moved into different types of techniques when chipping. You've actually changed wedges a number of times when it comes to chipping, but why haven't you been someone that's maybe moved into a chipper?
No idea.
Absolutely no idea why.
No, you've probably hit the nail on the head there. Traditionally, people have seen it. It's been well documented on YouTube that my short game, particularly my chipping, has been at times horrific. I have changed wedges. Mainly, I've lost confidence in a particular wedge, and you try and forget those bad feelings and move and change technique, change equipment. And then I've also experimented with technique, had a few decent rounds with a particular technique, it's not worked and I've gone on again. So yeah, I mean, I'm someone that this is targeted at and really should have been putting one of these in my bag.
However, one of the areas of your game that you've struggled with as well as your chipping, and this is kind of where it kind of a lot of the time, this is where it can start. So it's either going to start off, it's it either starts in people's short games, as in chipping, and then it moves into their putting, or it starts in their putting and then slowly moves into their chipping. And I feel that over the years, you've always been a decent chipper, but you've always been a little bit suspect, more so in the putting than you have the chipping. And I think over time it's just bled into your chipping side of things.
What I was just about to say is that because I traditionally am a bad putter, the thought of using a putting technique or the word putter, it scares me, and I'm thinking I'm going to be using the same technique as my putting. My putting's a weak area, so why would I want to use something that I'm using a putting stroke with when my putting stroke is so suspect?
Oh, I nearly chipped in as well then. And I completely understand where Leicester's coming from. This club has been designed around putting. That's what it's been designed around. If you look at the way in which this club is actually set up, the lie angle is 70 degrees, which is actually very, very similar, within a couple of degrees, because this one has been custom fit for me, but within a couple of degrees of what my putter is set up to. So instantly, when I put this club down, it makes me fall into kind of like my putting posture, which for someone like me actually gives me quite a bit of confidence. For someone like Leicester, it starts asking lots of different questions, and that can ask questions for lots of people as well who do struggle with their putting. The other thing with this chipper is it's a little bit one-dimensional, and what I mean by that is that I'm kind of limited to what I would call a bump and run, a chip and run shot, so something that comes out relatively low, and then when it lands on the green it kind of releases out. So when you've got a situation like we've got in front of us here, Bernie, where you've got from a down point on this upslope and then you've got a tight pin, how are you going to play this using a club which has got 38 degrees of loft on it, which is basically the loft of an 8-iron? So how do you play this shot when you actually, in some ways, you want to kind of go up and over this situation you're kind of stuck, aren't you?
Not with this club.
No, your only option really, and if you play the shot for us, just to this front pin, this kind of, just this front left one, yeah.
I've got to land it on this upslope.
You've got to land it in the upslope and then kind of release it from there. So even though you've played it actually really quite nicely, it kind of...
It's very limited of when you can use it. As particularly for a better player, you should be hitting more greens in regulation. You're probably only going to need this once, twice around maximum. And what club do I sacrifice to put this in the bag and game it?
Well, for me, it comes down to the individual player. If you're somebody that has, let's say, 3 or 4 wedges in your bag, then maybe you could look at gapping those wedges in slightly differently and giving yourself an option with a chipper in the bag. Or someone that has lots of clubs maybe in the top end, let's say that those gaps are getting close together. So if you've got a 5-iron and a 4-iron or even a 3-iron, which we see in people's bags, that maybe those gaps with those clubs are quite close, then maybe it gives you an option to be able to take one of those out and put in something like this. It's kind of like a specialist club, isn't it? You see it with other players that use a left-handed club in their bag. They just use it to chip out sideways from under trees and things. But it's definitely a one-trick pony, like Lester said. It's something that's going to just sort of play that kind of lower shot, bump it up the green. But what I would say is that it's going to give so many players confidence, and that's ultimately what Ping have designed here. They've designed a chipper, this is nothing new. They've not reinvented a wheel here. This is just, you know, chippers have been out for many, many years. I mean, we've had fun over the years, Lester and I, playing with like a Bronte chipper over the years, playing with different shots around the greens. But what I would say with what Ping have created here, they've created a very stylish looking one. It's kind of, looks wise, it's the difference between kind of maybe a putter length in the actual face position, so it looks very similar from there. It's quite boxy in its look as well. It's quite square in its look, which again looks very similar, kind of like a blend, a hybrid between a putter and a wedge. And the actual, from blade point, from the bottom of the blade to the top of the blade, it's kind of sits somewhere between your wedge and your putter, again giving you maybe that little bit of confidence looking down at a bigger face. But 38.5 degrees in loft and 35 inches in length is what you're getting. So again, very, very similar in lengthwise to what you would get with a normal putter. The other thing that we got to talk about is the grip. It's slightly longer in the grip. It's a round grip, which is what they would have to put on a normal iron, should we say, which is what this kind of falls into the category of. But it's slightly longer, so it gives you that little bit of versatility with moving up and down the grip, which again, you can play different types of shots. Controlling that trajectory, again, is what Ping are kind of saying. You've got the micro grooves as well on this head. Again, just trying to control that spin number, just trying to control the trajectory. Again, you don't want those pop-offs from different shots. You want to get control of the shot as it comes off the club face. One thing I do love with regards to Ping is the hydro pearl finish, and also that white line at the bottom. That hydro pearl finish kind of trying to remove that water off the club face, give you more consistency off the face. But just that white line, that streak line at the bottom there, allowing you to sort of line that blade up a lot easier. I love that. It's something that they run right the way through their golf clubs, and it's a win-win for me from that. Give me your kind of final thoughts on it then, Bernie.
Yeah, I mean, I like the actual initial look of it. It doesn't, to me, scream of a chipper. It looks more like a traditional iron. So if that's in the bags, no one's going to be like, oh, they are carrying a chipper, which is what I like as well. So that someone who is a little bit conscious of the facts that they're carrying a chipper, it just doesn't look like one, and I like the fact that it's designed not to look like one.
Would you use it?
Me personally, no. It just doesn't. For me,
you just played there.
Yeah, I mean, for me though, I feel like I can achieve the same results with my technique using a 7 or an 8 iron, and I can't afford to drop a club from my bag currently. But I can see this appealing to a lot of handicapped golfers who struggle in this area of the game.
So the last thing that I want to point out for me as a feel point of view is the weight and the feel of the head down by the golf ball, and as I'm swinging the club. It's actually got a wedge type shaft in it, which has actually got a low balance point, which actually makes it feel like it's a bit more weighty. You almost like you can feel the head a little bit more. And I've got to say, that's one of the first things that jumps out to me is the weight of it. It feels quite heavy. And when you're taking that club back and through, you can actually get a real sense of where the club head is, which is actually a positive thing. If you're somebody who struggles with your wedge game, getting a sense of where that club head is, where that club face is pointing, all those little things, that's only going to help, and you're definitely getting the sense of it. But I'd like to hear what you think. Are you somebody who struggles with your game and would be interested in a chipper? Is this something that you would put in your golf bag, or is it something that just takes up another space that you really can't afford to lose? We'd like to hear in the comments down below. Obviously, a big thank you for watching. Don't forget, if you are new to this channel, hit that subscribe button. We've got lots and lots of content coming your way, and we'll see you all again on the next video.